following is a digital media production.
It's a Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. I'm Billy Jaffe. Jeremy Roenick is joining as well. This week, what a show. We touch on contract talk, Stamkos, Drouin, Barkov. We touch on Andrew Ladd, and we also had an amazing interview, Jay, with Mr. Devil.
Unbelievable. You can't miss this interview with Ken Daneyko. Awesome.
All right, it's the Roenick Life Pod powered by digital media, and Ken Daneyko brought the goods.
Here's Roenick, what a move! Jeremy Roenick shot, score! Magic for JR!
Jeremy Roenick.
What the hell is he looking at? How does he not see it?
Mike Milbury's a donkey. That's all he is.
He's a son of a... NHL, wake up.
Billy Jaffe.
There's a lot of energy right now here, and it's only going to build, and I can't wait for that.
This is Roenick Life with JR and Jaffe. Powered by digital media. Find your voice.
Well, there aren't many things that can keep us from doing this podcast, but weather is one. And I guess we'd like to think we can control everything, right, JR? But the weather
I like to control everything. Everybody knows I'm a control freak, that's for sure.
Yeah, me too. But what was the name of that storm? It was the Jonas Brothers or something like that? Big winter storm, Jonas Brothers?
Yeah, Jonas. That's exactly, the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, they kept
Jonas
you from...
Brothers are done. Nick Jonas is still rocking and rolling, but...
See, I wouldn't even know that. That's where, I'm definitely, of the two of us, I'm a lot more
he's come out on his own and...
Yeah,
lighten it up, Jeez, I gotta say, I listened to some of his music. I just listened to one of them on the plane last night. Levels. It's a pretty good song. You gotta listen to it.
Okay, all right. I'll have to find it. I'm sure my daughter has it. My 8-year-old, who acts like 18. But yeah, so the storm knocked us out for one day, but that's all right. We're right back at it. We finally got to where we need to be, and I hope everybody out there is safe and sound. Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. Coming at you again this week. Our guest is going to be Mr. Devil himself, Ken Daneyko, who's a dear friend of both of ours, but also has some just amazing stories of coming up from Western Canada, becoming a New Jersey Devil, dealing with Lou Lamoriello, dealing with coaches there throughout his stellar career. So we'll have a great time with...
Dealing with a lot of personal stuff. This guy is one of the toughest men alive, too, Billy.
Yes.
He's going to be a great interview.
He's one of the toughest guys alive that ends cuddling with 5-pound little dogs. I'm going to give him... Little Puck is one of them. I don't know what the name of the other one is, but he'll laugh his ass off about it because here's this big monster of a man, and then yet he says, I know, Billy, I like this dog. I can't tell you why. He just loves it. He holds on to it right there.
That's awesome.
I just love Kenny. I had a chance to work with him a lot. So that's what we got going. But for now, we're going to get into it. There's so much stuff to get into around the NHL as we are just the week of the All-Star break. Just a couple of days away from a big party in Nashville, which should be a ton of fun for all involved. I think Nashville will be ready for everybody in the NHL that's going there. But before we talk any more of that, you know what? There's big talk about contracts. Why don't we start with that, all right, Jay? What do you say?
Absolutely. Well, after Kopitar just signing a huge deal,
yeah,
I think that's a good thing to start with.
Okay, so we've got that, and you know what? Let's do this. It was just announced. We got a big thing to talk about with Tampa, but just because we can get through the Barkov one quickly, I compared Barkov to Anze Kopitar, and you agreed, and that's the same type of physical style player he is with the Florida Panthers. He just signed a $6 million contract, 5.9 to be exact, over 6 years. It was announced. It kicks in next year. So Dale Talon and the Florida Panthers lock up one of what they consider their focal point, their centerpieces of the team. It's a big contract for a guy that... Here, let me just read you these numbers, all right? 24 points his first year in 54 games, 36 points in 71, and then right now 30 and 38. There's no question
this is fear. This is a fear signing, if you ask me.
Okay, but all right. So it's fear in the sense that you think that they're afraid to...
I think they're afraid of how good Barkov can get, and I think they are afraid of what maybe Tampa is in the situation of right now. Not saying that Barkov was going to be a 50-goal scorer, but that Barkov can become a superstar in the league. I mean, he's got that much talent, and when he's surrounded by as good of players as he is, he's only going to be better in the future years. Listen, I don't mind this contract. I usually would be bitching and complaining about guys that haven't really established themselves as big point guys making a lot of money. But this one, I think, is the first time where I'm actually saying, all right, let's break this down. Dale Talon has a chance to lock a kid up with very, very good money. Very, very good money. And he could probably avoid the $8 or $9 million mark in 2 years from now.
So he's buying from free agency is what he's doing. He's buying a couple of years of the kid's free agency.
Yes.
He's paying him some extra, but yet he's getting him at a under market contract in theory when it's all said and done.
I think in theory. Because his numbers really relate to 3.5.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
No,
3.5.
Let me throw these names out to you for lack of. There's some comparison here to a few of these guys. Brandon Dubinsky, Colorado, makes $5.85. Okay, and he's a veteran. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, 3 times in his career already in Ryan Nugent Hopkins' career, he has had 52 or more points, Jeremy, and he's at $6 million this season. Jordan Staal, after that mega contract, which I still don't get. But anyways, he has 7 years left at $6 million.
Yeah, I don't get that contract whatsoever. That's just because his name is Stahl. That's why you got that.
Well, and he got it when he got traded, and so
yeah, he's a good player, but he's not he's way overpaid.
You know who else makes $6 million? And I know this is an easy game to play, this comparable game, considering this was signed a couple of years ago. But Joe Pavelski is making $6 million a year. See, to me, and again, maybe not fair, but you got Joe Pavelski, who can play center or wing, and is just amazing in front of the net, and who is physically completely different.
He's the all-around real deal, Joe Pavelski.
Right, okay. Then you have Barkov, who's going to be making basically $6 million a year, and you say, okay.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's different time.
Yeah, it totally doesn't match. It doesn't match at all because I'll take Joe Pavelski over Barkov 7 days a week, 24/7, because Joe Pavelski, I know that Joe Pavelski is going to be there every single game with his heart, with his work ethic, with his compete, with his battle, with scoring goals. He's got 24, 25 goals again this year already. He's the true leader, and is a true leader of that San Jose team. And, the fact that he's making that, San Jose is really lucky at that point. But I do think this is a prevention of Barkov becoming bigger in the next couple years and having to pay a lot more. So I'm not a big fan of these big contracts early, but Barkov has that it factor.
Yeah.
But it just, I guess time will tell, right?
Every player on the team that I've spoken to about Barkov says, especially the veterans, he has no idea how good he is. He has no clue how good he is and how good, not he's going to be, but how good he is right now. And this year we're just starting to see that with his command of the puck and his control of the zones, and he's starting to get it. He's a quiet kid, you look at him at least, and he's learning a lot from Jágr, which is a good thing. We make a lot of Jágr jokes and everything, but the way he handles himself and the training and everything we've already talked about before on Roenick Life Pod here. So he's just learning a lot, and I do think he's going to be a special player. It's just a gamble. I mean, you're putting your cojones on the line. I bet whenever you make these big deals. But on the other hand, you know what? They're thinking we got a kid that, again, we're going to get for 6 more years after this year. He's still going to be in his late 20s when it's all said and done. Yeah. And I think they're hoping at that time, Jeremy, they're going to be paying him $8 to $9 million a year, if not more, depending on where the cap is. Yeah, because that means he's successful.
Hey, listen, there's a guy on this team that's a 4th liner, maybe even 3rd liner. I don't even know how much he's playing. Dave Bolin, who's making $5.5.
He's not playing. He's not playing.
Not even playing. So
no, that was Dale Talon doing it.
That's Dale Talon saying thank you for my Stanley Cup when he scored the.
And he wanted some leadership and everything. But
Stanley Cup. So, but you know what? That's here nor there. But the contracts all over the league are getting crazy, and it's. That the 20 goal scorers are $5.5, $6 million players now.
The Ryan Kessler contract with the Ducks. Bob Murray gave him an extension, and he's well over 6. He's over $6.5 million, and that's, here's a guy that's a number 2 center, and you respect what he's done in his career, right? I mean, whether you're a fan of his or not, you can't say that he hasn't had a really good.
And I don't get that. I don't get that contract.
I know.
Ryan Kessler, Barkov is a better player than Ryan Kessler.
Well, and a lot younger, and that's the other thing. A lot
younger, but Ryan Kessler's not going to put 20 goals, 25 goals, 30 goals a year in for you. I mean, he is going to block shots. He is going to be a pain in the ass. He is going to be a physical presence, but nobody fears Ryan Kessler. I think if you're going to make $6 million, some teams have to fear you at some capacity.
Well,
I like Ryan Kessler, but God, it's crazy numbers going around.
Well, I believe, if memory serves correct, he's at like 6'7", close to 6'5" to 6'7" a year. So now, guys like David Backus, who's a free agent to be, who's making a cap hit of 4.5, he's going to be looking for 6 something. Andrew Ladd. Let's jump on Andrew Ladd real quick. I know I want to get to the whole Tampa situation, but we might as well just touch on Andrew Ladd quickly with Winnipeg. All right,
awesome.
The captain there, right? You love him, right?
Yeah, you know what? He is one of my favorite players in the league for a lot of reasons. Not because of his offensive punch, or not because of he's flashy and dancy and all that stuff.
Which he's not. Yeah.
He's not. I just talked about Joe Pavelski, and the way I feel about him. I feel the same about Andrew Ladd in a lot of different ways because of the leadership that this guy has, the compete level, the fight, the
They're
ability.
old school players, Jay, and I'm not being a smart ass here, but
old school. That's right. Exactly.
You can relate to it. You can.
Absolutely.
I think you can see these guys and you say, I knew a lot of guys that played like this.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of guys.
By the way, I don't think Chicago wins the Stanley Cup in 2010 without an Andrew Ladd on the team. And you know what?
Yeah.
There's a few teams in the league right now that Andrew Ladd could be the key component to filling out a Stanley Cup roster. That's how valuable a guy like Andrew Ladd is.
And I don't think they're going to re-sign him in Winnipeg. There's a big article that came out yesterday, but all along, they have to make a choice, or at least I think they feel they need to make a choice. It's between Andrew Ladd and Dustin Byfuglien. Trouba, their defenseman, their potential star defenseman in the making, is a restricted free agent though. But he's not. They don't have to move on him immediately. You have to make that move on either Byfuglien or Ladd.
Got to keep Byfuglien.
Well, see, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I know he's a great kind of wild card, kind of that stallion that sometimes you say, oh my God, look at that thing run, and other times
are they close to the same ages? Are they close to the same ages? I think that would be a little bit more of a key in terms of who you keep.
Well, Ladd, if I remember correctly, is at 30 or 31 years old at most, and then Dustin Byfuglien is 30. Yeah, they're both 30 or 31 years old. They're right there, so they're at that age. But
you know what? That's a tough one. I think Byfuglien brings you more all around in terms of goal scoring, physical, playmaking,
inconsistent,
power play.
Out of control at times, but that's all part of him, right?
Yeah, but that's some of his mystique about him. That's some of the things that you like about him. I think he puts fear into other players.
Okay,
and that's a powerful thing. Not many people in the game today put fear into other players. Dustin Byfuglien is one of those guys that when you're going up against him or you're going in the corner, there's tendency of going, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, no. Here we go.
Uh-huh.
And Andrew Ladd is not that kind of guy, but he is dependable, very dependable. He'll put the puck in the net every once in a while. He's really dependable on the defensive end. His leadership qualities are tremendous, and he's a tremendous guy.
His offense is down a little bit this year. He's at 27 points in 48 games. Then again, the whole team in Winnipeg is down again after making that playoff.
That team's, they don't know who they are yet, and they still have.
Well, you're right, and they're undisciplined, and I think some of that has to do with Dustin Byfuglien. I do, and this is not a criticism that he's not. I just think sometimes his personality, which I do believe he is the personality of the team. You can say, I can sit here and say that Ladd is the captain, and he is, and he's a great captain. But I do think that the heartbeat of that team goes through Dustin Byfuglien. I do. And therefore, I think sometimes when he's undisciplined and, you see him
he's rare. There are more Andrew Ladds than there are Dustin Byfugliens. And I think that's how you have to kind of evaluate it.
Okay, so do you end up, this is the question though, if Ladd's not going to get a contract, and I'm sure, the rumor is he wants at least 6 years, over 6 a year. Again, because you're looking at the Ryan Kessler type contracts. You're looking at Dubinsky, who's at 5.85. Again, you're looking at these guys. Ryan O'Reilly, he has a 7.5 average annual value, and Ladd, you would say, well, I don't need 7.5, but I want 6.5, 6.75 or something. But so now are you gonna overpay, because Winnipeg has to. Let's just face it. They've got to, in order to get guys, you got to either trade for them when they're real young, or you've got to overpay for them and at free agency. I saw this happen with the New York Islanders for a while, Jeremy. I saw it too, because guys were like, well, I don't know if I want to go there, but geez, they offered me an extra year at an extra few million, and why wouldn't I do that, right? And Winnipeg's the same thing right now, okay? So and by the way, I'm a huge fan of Kevin Cheveldayoff's up there. Love the guy's GM. I had a lot of personal history with him, but that's not a knock on him at all. In fact, I think he's a tremendous GM, but I think they've got handcuffs on him or they're hamstrung from their location. I just do. Yeah. Okay, so do you overpay Dustin Byfuglien to keep him there? Because he's going to get a boatload on the market from somebody. Maybe a team like Florida. With Dale Talon might say, you know what? You're that last piece to our puzzle down there. Brian Campbell's contract's expiring. We need instead of saying in Winnipeg, come down here where it's 85 degrees on a bad day or 75. You know what I mean, on a bad day. Come down and play with us, and you can go fishing all year round. You don't have to worry about going ice fishing. There's no such thing as ice fishing. We'll pay you $7 million. Come here, or do you overpay a bit for your leader or for a captain in Andrew Ladd?
I think you're going to get a lot on the market for an Andrew Ladd by a team that has a chance to win.
Okay.
I think you can probably, Dustin Byfuglien is going to attract a higher price than an Andrew Ladd will right now.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Ladd should make 6, 5.5. It'd be, because of his. I mean, he has won a Stanley Cup. He was a key component of the 2010 Hawks.
Yeah. Carolina too.
Yeah, in Carolina, he was a key component.
Yeah.
And I think at trade deadline, there's going to be a handful of teams because of his character. And he's the type of person that really, when you break it all down, he's the type of guy that wins championships because he does all the dirty work. He does all the things that go without the accolades.
He does a lot of Justin Williams stuff, right?
Yeah.
Who we talked to,
So, and there are a couple teams out there that are close to making the playoffs, if not in the playoffs, that really believe they have a shot at winning the Stanley Cup. And I think Ladd would be way more of a better fit and easier to get than a Dustin Byfuglien. So there's no. I think Winnipeg has got to go out there. And they can bring in a couple really good young players, maybe some good prospect players, which they need because the team needs to find an identity soon, fast.
Yep.
And maybe they're not going to make the playoffs this year, but they need to start doing something. They need to start doing something.
Until they get disciplined out there, bud. They're not. Yeah. I mean, they're so undisciplined on the ice.
Let's talk about some of the teams that Ladd can go to. Okay?
All right, I've got one. Go ahead. You start.
All right. I'm going to go with one that's knocking on the door of the playoffs, and a team that we'll talk about a little bit later. You talk about a New Jersey Devils who they're so strong for offense.
Yep.
They need it. They're small. They need big strength. They need that leadership quality. I think the guy has won the Stanley Cup like our guest has. I think New Jersey could use a guy like Ladd, strong, can put the puck in net once in a while, power play, and a team that plays a very good style of defensive play that Ladd can come into and fit very, very, very easily into a lineup like that.
Okay, good call. I'm going to give you 2 teams in the East I think that he can end up with. One, Montreal Canadiens. They're desperate for anything right now. Desperate for a guy.
Call.
Okay, the other one is the New York Islanders.
Hold on. Keep expanding on that Montreal because when I was asked about Montreal whether they'd keep up this pace, I said absolutely not. They are going to fall on their ass. They are not going to be able to keep it up because number one, it's a long season, and number two, they are a small team. And when you play a small game, speed game like Montreal does, and the punishment kicks in, injuries are going to happen, and the fatigue is going to happen, and you're going to wear out.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what's happened with Montreal.
And we all knew, everybody knew that the center position was going to be a question because you have Plekanec right there, who's really a number 2 when it's all said and done. And would the Galchenyuk experiment work out? And it just hasn't at center. They want him. They still believe in him that the kid has it. He's only 21 years old, that he can become a great center in the league, but it's just not there right now, and he needs to do some more things. And now Ladd is not a center, but still, they could use his presence on that front end, just for size, as you mentioned, but also just to feel good. Because right now, I think this team. Listen, I didn't think they'd be nearly as good without Carey Price, but I did not think they would be this bad. I did not think that they would be. I mean, you're talking completely out of the playoffs. You're talking
They've won 3 games in the last 10. I mean, they are.
Well, I think they've won 5 since early December now. 5 or 6.
Spiraling.
Yeah, it's out of control. The other team that I mentioned, the New York Islanders. I think they cannot screw around much longer. They got beat by the Detroit Red Wings on Monday night. at home. I just don't think they can keep. They're good, but they are not great.
They're one or two players short. It's another great call by you because there's barely any.
They're getting crap. They're not getting enough out of John Tavares anymore. They're not. You've got a superstar.
All you have to do is cover John Tavares on that team right now.
Yeah, no,
I mean that's all you have to do. I mean, Oposo's has had a good year.
Yep.
But who else do you fear on that team? Who else is going to be consistent every night?
Well, exactly. Look, they've got Franz Nielsen, a guy who has spent his entire career with the Islanders, that has really worked his way to a very good.
He just does his job.
Right? Okay. And then this kid Brock Nelson is a goal away from 20, and he
by the way,
can
doesn't Brock Nelson sound like a porn name? I love that name. I love that name.
Yes, Nelson. It is.
That's like a porn name.
You know who's he related to, buddy?
And welcome, Brock Nelson.
You know who he's related to? The Christian family. The hockey family. The Christian brothers.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I played with Davey Christian. That's funny.
There you go.
Brock's a good player. He's a good player. But I've said on air, listen, Islanders are one or two players short from making the playoffs. Because if you look at it, they're the third spot in that Metropolitan Division. New Jersey's 1 point behind as of right now. New Jersey's playing good hockey. New Jersey's going to catch the Islanders. So now the Islanders have to hope to hold on to one of those wild card spots, with Pittsburgh starting to amp up, with Sydney just starting to get going.
And I think they're just missing something there, bud. I know that they don't have Hamonic, or he's back, and
Carolina's going to catch them.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I love what Billy Peters is doing with Carolina. I love how they're playing. I don't think when it's all said and done that they're going to. I don't think that they've got the goaltending like New Jersey does. And that
what if they trade Eric Stahl, which everybody's been waiting for them to do for the last?
Well, but how can they right now? How can they with?
I know. Hey, listen, I know.
See, I think Carolina has to. I do agree with you, bud. I think they have to trade him. I think it's going to be a real tough pill to swallow.
It is a tough pill. This team must have a no trade too, right?
Well, yeah, but you say to him, listen, we love.
He's not going to say no, thanks. I think I want to stay here in Carolina.
Yeah, I mean when it's all look, they've built up Ronnie Francis, Ricky Olczyk, our buddy, who's the assistant GM down there, Billy Peters, the head coach, who comes from the Detroit way of thinking with Mike Babcock. They've implemented a wonderful system, a quick turnaround in the sense that their D has been rebuilt.
Falk has been great this year.
Falk's been really good. Hannafin is starting to come into his own. The kid Pesci, who played at UNH for 3 years, is coming into his own. All of a sudden, they got the kid Slavin on the back end. Anyways, point is this: I don't think their goaltending, when it's all said and done, is going to be good enough. But let's just finish up on the Islanders real quick, and then I want to get into we got a meaty discussion about Stamkos.
I have one more team that might really help with.
All right, so I just want to finish with the Islanders. If they dick around a bit more and don't do something. See, I think Ladd fits perfectly on that left wing right now with John Tavares. That will motivate John Tavares, who to me looks frustrated. He
should be, because he doesn't have any help.
He's a point-a-game guy, and yet he's nowhere near that, Jay, this year. Yeah. He's 34 points as we talk in 44 games. People might say, well, how was he, better before? I don't know. I mean, after a while, you get tired kind of having to be the guy regularly. You mentioned Kyle Oposo having a good year. Long story, this is it, as far as I'm concerned. The goaltending's been good, really good on the island, or I guess I should say in Brooklyn now. The defense will be good, really good with Johnny Boychuk healthy, Travis Hamonic healthy regularly in the lineup. And Nick Leddy seems to be playing better, no question about it, a lot better. But up front, it just doesn't wow. You know what I mean? They need to make a move. They can't mess around. I don't think they need to get. And Ladd could be the type of guy that could fit on that team. Life Pod powered by digital media.
It'll be home to 942 bursts of laughter, a 16-pound blackened turkey dinner, and the loudest burp on record. It will see its fair share of broken windows, broken bones, and broken hearts. But first, you have to find it. Start your home search at Zillow.com or on our family of apps. You can view millions of photos, browse historical pricing data, and even sign up for alerts when new homes hit the market. Zillow. Find your way home.
This is Roenick Life with Jeremy Roenick and Billy Jaffe.
let's go out west. One team that can go out west that I think is just battling with their consistency. They're playing better as of late, and actually had a tough loss the other day to LA. Is that the San Jose Sharks? The San Jose Sharks have some pretty young guys that I think they can afford to get rid of. If you look at some of their top guys, Wingels, Hurdle, Donskoy, Melker Karlsson.
Yeah,
I can never say that name. My tongue doesn't roll that way. I can't stand saying Melker Karlsson. But they have some really quality young guys that, to get a good veteran, he can maybe get a couple draft choices, maybe throw in one of these younger guys. But if you look at San Jose, they're right on the cusp, and I think they still need a little bit more leadership on that team. But also, if you look at the teams they're playing against, they're battling. LA Kings down the middle. They have Kopitar, they have Carter, two big, strong guys that they have to deal with. If you go to Anaheim, and whether Anaheim gets better in trades, they got Kessler and Getzlaf. You need to build down that middle. And I think, Joe Thornton or Pavelski, whoever, Joe's usually the centerman on that first line. The second line doesn't really have a strong, powerful guy. You can get Logan Couture, but Logan's all over the place. He plays wing. He plays. If you can add a guy like Ladd into that lineup, it makes that team that much stronger.
But Ladd's a winger. He's not gonna. But you're saying he's still gonna help you down in the sense.
Yeah, because you can put Logan Couture at center longer, because right now he's center, right wing, all over the place, and I think you need to build through the middle, but you can allow people to play a position longer.
Well, then, listen, let's just play the hypothetical game. If you were to get a guy like Ladd out there, then you also have Patrick Marleau, who's on the left side. Then you'd have Ladd. I mean, those are two big boys on your top two lines on those left wings right there. And that, again, depending if you play Thornton, who usually is in the middle, or Pavelski, you got one of those guys on the wing too. It would help. Look, I think Andrew Ladd would help big time, because that team, I think he'd help the Islanders. I think he'd help Montreal. I think there's probably at least, I'm telling you, half dozen, probably more like 10 teams that he would help an awful lot. Do we have a second here or not? You want to touch on, before we have Kenny Daneyko coming on with us, you want to quickly touch on Anaheim? You think we can do it quickly here, bud?
Yeah, listen, Anaheim they're a farce right now. Isn't it a farce? I mean, here they are. They're making trades. They run 3 or 4 off, and then next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. Now they've lost a couple games again. Now they're out of the playoffs, and this team is so close to that, being out of the playoffs, into the playoffs. They are so good, but they're playing so inept offensively.
Well, wait a second. Now, hold on. They can't score. We know that. I spent a lot of the day on Monday with Anaheim. I went to watch their practice as they're on this road trip right before All-Star break in Boston. They come off a big victory in Detroit, all right? And after the game against Washington gets postponed due to the storm, they scored 4 goals. That's like, a year for them, basically. They all admit now they have to win by, if they score 3, it's a party. If 2, it's just kind of a little fiesta. Otherwise, they're happy to win 1-0. You know what I mean? It's just like, can they win this way all year? You think they can do this type of hockey?
No, they're not built. They're not built to win defensively. They're built to go offense and score goals. That's why everybody thought they would be a Stanley Cup contender this year, because of their offense.
Well,
because
maybe that was just the wrong thought process, because when they tried winning last year offensively.
Well, if they wanted to win defensively, they don't get rid of Carl Hagelin, because Carl Hagelin's more of a defensive guy than anything. He's not going to score goals for you. He's better defensively.
Yeah, it just didn't fit with that team.
And you don't bring in Perron. He's not going to do anything defensively. Glendening might a little bit, but.
You know what, Jay? You know what they're getting out of Perron? And listen, he's just there for the rest of the season, bud. We know that, right? He's just there. His contract expires.
Yeah, exactly.
He's getting his ass to the front of the net. And it's amazing, with the size of the guys that they have, they don't go to the front of the net.
No, and
it's amazing.
I just can't stop harping on my buddy Ryan Getzlaf, because I love him as a guy and what he's known as a player, but he's invisible, man. He's lost, and he is so slow that the game is flying by him. His hands are behind. I haven't seen a guy drop off the map faster in a long time than Ryan Getzlaf has fallen off the map in terms of his compete, in terms of his ability to be productive.
You know who he's playing with right now? You ready for this line that he's with? He's centering a line with Chris Stewart and David Perron. So 3 righties on one line, and there's not a lot of speed on that line.
That's a third line.
That's exactly right. And he's
third line.
Yeah, and they might want to say he's the first-line center, but right now it's a third line, and it's exactly...
It's so disappointing to me. It really is so disappointing to me.
You know who's really good there? Who I really like? The Richard Raquel kid. I mean, I
like him. I do too. He's worn on me a lot lately once I've watched him. He's made some plays in the last couple games, and I was like, wow, this guy's got good sense and good. He's got some heart.
Listen, this team's going to make a trade because Simone Dupré is scheduled to come back to play against the Boston Bruins on Tuesday night. Cam Fowler, who has been their best overall defenseman, who's been injured for a while with a knee sprain, he's not going to come back till right after All-Star break. They're just being cautious with him. But then they're going to have 8-9 defensemen. Remember, Clayton Stoner's still hurt. They have you want to talk a boatload of NHL defense.
Yeah.
They're going to make a trade. One of those guys.
Well, plus they have the most active GM in Bob Murray. He's a fire sale every year.
He is.
Yeah, he's a fire sale. So and I'll tell you what, I can't imagine being around him this year in a room, in an office.
Love Murph, but he is just so
He
intense.
is the most ornery, cranky, just opinionated guy. I mean, by the way, he's the one that traded me out of Chicago back in 1996. So I love Bob Murray, but I can't stand him for him shipping me out of Chicago, which is okay. Yeah. But he is a fire salesman, and he's done an unbelievable job with that organization over the last 7 to 10 years of being down there. He is going to make something big. There's no question, and I think Freddie Anderson is going to be a part of that deal. And don't be surprised if Mr. Getzlaf, if he agrees to a trade, is part of that too.
Wow, well, that would be enormous. I still think it's going to be. I think your Anderson comment might not be off, given that he's in the last year of his contract, but then they have to trust Gibson as their number one the whole way in the playoffs if they get in, assuming they get in. I think it's going to center around a defenseman. I don't think that's exactly, a scintillating analysis. It's pretty easy to figure out. I think that they're going to trade one of these bigger defensemen there, and they're going to get some offense back because they just can't score. I'm curious to see if they can really sustain this. To a man in the room yesterday talking to him after practice, they talked about how they're committed to it, how they had some things that were just wrong after training camp.
At least they're talking about something. At least they're talking about something because this team's been all over the map all year long. It's one day they go offense, next day they can't score a goal, and then they can't score a goal for 10 games, and they're battling every single. They're losing at home. They're losing the teams they should be beating. You just don't know who it is, and you have a team like the Arizona Coyotes who are playing the same every single night and chinking away and winning hockey games. They just did it again the other night, last night against Minnesota. They score with a minute left, tie it up, win in overtime. This is a team that have character, and they have a mentality, and they play to it. They have a system, and Anaheim doesn't. And because of that, there's going to be major shakeup.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what Bob Murray ends up doing. He's going to be doing something. From too many people around the league I've talked with, everybody says that they are very active right now. They're just waiting for their D to get back, which should happen very soon. Speaking of defensemen, we've got one of the greatest guys and one of the best defensemen of his era ready to join us here. We're going to be back in a moment with Kenny Daneyko, Mr. Devil, and then later, Jay, you and I are going to have a talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning and what's going on there because it continues to be a situation. This is Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe.
When you're running your own business, you're bound to be busy. Too busy. Too busy worrying about your budget. Too busy scheduling appointments. Too busy to build a website for your business. And because you're too busy, it has to be easy. And that's where Wix.com comes in. With Wix.com, it's easy for you to create your stunning website. Go to Wix.com and create your website today. It's easy and free. That's Wix.com.
This is Roenick Life with JR and Jaffe.
Well, I've had the opportunity to work with this guy for, it became many years as we were both in the New York, New Jersey area. And, we always, in hockey, we use the term beauty, and this guy is a beautiful man as far as I'm concerned. He is one of the great.
Well, I don't know about beautiful as in as it looks.
I was just going to say, Billy Boy.
I don't know about that.
I've been called beautiful, and I'm much appreciative. Believe me.
Dan, trust me. You are an absolute supermodel as far as I'm concerned. Buddy.
You are a beauty. You are a beauty. That's for sure.
Mr. Devil, Ken Daneyko is joining us here, taking some time on Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. And full disclosure, I mean, well, we've all known each other for a long time. Kenny's played a lot of golf with Jeremy. Kenny and I have spent many a nights walking the streets of Manhattan in search of dessert and something else before we go on the air, looking to stuff our faces. So both of us, Jeremy and I, have long personal relationships with him. Kenny, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, fellas. How you doing? And I caught a few of your pods, and I got to say, guys, and I'm not saying this because we're friends. It's a lot of fun, and keep it going, because you know what? We don't have enough of that. We get too analytical, and I love it. We want to get, talk our lovely game of hockey, which we all enjoy, and it's a good time of year right now as everything's jammed up and everybody fighting for the playoff spot. Still some games out there, but you guys bring some life and some excitement. So
well,
it's a pleasure to be on with you.
That's awesome. I'm glad you listen. We're trying to bring it. It's nice to have a forum where you can really say what you're thinking rather than having 10 or 15 seconds to get a point out. And you know exactly, Dano, we've worked together on television. You do your stuff with the Devils, and it's really hard when you have a 10 to 15 second gap.
Yeah.
And you really can't get out all the things that you want to say to the magnitude that you want to say it. And you and I both have our opinions, and we like to get them out, and I get them out as much as I can, as fast as I can.
We all have a tendency. We try to be as honest as we can. We have a tendency to be a little politically correct at times when you're working for a team, or you working for NBC, JR, Billy for sports. And I'm not saying that because you guys, tell it like it is for the most part, and I do my best at it. But yeah, you can. When you guys should get on Charles Barkley, and anytime you get a guy on like that, JR, with all your buddies that I mean, that makes it fun.
It's fun. Oh, he was fun. We got a couple others that we're going to be getting on here coming up in the next couple weeks. I know my boy out in L.A., Michael Bublé, wants to come out. I got Eric Stonestreet. Eric Stonestreet's going to come on. So we got some good people going to be coming up. What?
Hold it. I got to say one thing, because I don't know if you're going to go here first. Now, you got to love this game of the National Hockey League when you're offered $8.5 million, and all the writers, I'm not saying are saying that's an insult. I mean, isn't this a beautiful game? That's a complete insult. Slap in the face. I'm offered 8.5, and you know what I'm talking about. And I'm not putting on Steven Stamkos. I'm putting it on some of the media and writers like that's an insult. Come on.
Hey, isn't it? And Billy and I were just talking about some of the contracts. We talked about Barkov's contract getting $6 million, and he really hasn't put up the numbers yet that really relate to that price tag. And I said, and you can chime in here, I think Dale Talon is preventing a bigger contract a little bit, maybe a couple of years down the road, knowing that he has the big upside. But we're going to get ready to talk about Steven Stamkos and what his situation. I mean, hey, listen, not a bad situation to be in if you're Steven Stamkos. Hey, listen, 8.5, that's a slap in the face.
The starting point, too, by the way. It's just a starting point.
Yeah,
right.
But guys, I mean, and something I read, I'm sure you guys saw that. In reality, because of taxes and everything else, it's really 10.5 compared if you sign that contract with
not if Bernie Sanders gets in. If Bernie Sanders gets in, that's like a $1.5 million contract. Sorry. That's socialist. Oh, what I'm not even going to go there.
JR, all I'm going to say, too, is in this day and age, you'd be a $9-10 million player. You're in the wrong era, my friend.
I was lucky. I got a little bit of the pie. I got it started.
Yeah, you did, and I know you're grateful and happy, as we all are. But 45 points these days gets you $5.
I know.
$6 million.
You know what? It's funny. It's funny you said that, Dan, because I've never been one, and I don't know how you. I know you're probably not the same either. I've never been the one to be like, damn, I wish I played now, or damn, this money going around I could be making. I never did that. I was really I love the era that I played in, and I was very fortunate to make the money that I did. And, could I have made, 9 or 10 million? Yeah, in the way I was playing in my heyday, for sure.
Yeah, and then we go back to Bobby Hall and Gordie Howe. Those are the guys that
really, exactly.
All that great era, those guys, which that's why I'm always
even Gretz and Mario,
like that.
Even Gretz and Mario, who played in our time.
Gretz and Mario, absolutely.
But you know what?
You're right. All relative, and we played in a great era. So
Dano,
God bless them. Make what you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, buddy. So let's make a comparison if we can. Is there one defenseman now that you see out there that you say, That's kind of reminds me of myself, that the game has changed. We all know that. It's a different style and everything. But is there a D-man out there that would be the Ken Daneyko like that you at least see?
Oh, boy, I might have to ask you guys that. They don't make them like my mold anymore.
No, they don't. And that's not being cocky or anything. They really don't because, hey, I remember playing you, Kenny, and every time, because we just talked about Dustin Byfuglien, how when you play against him, you
we just played them the other night.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that you really have to look out for, and you really, really feel like, oh my God, this guy's going to kick the piss out of me, or he's going to hurt me every single game. You were the type of player. When I came up from Philly and we came to Jersey, I knew even before that, every time I played against you, I knew that I was going to feel some sort of pain, whether it was my back, my ankles, my arms, my wrists, and I was going to get that awful scowl and that awful raspy voice telling me what an asshole I am and you suck and you're a piece of this and a piece of that, and I knew exactly what I was going to get from you. So hey, listen, every time I would jump on the ice, I would look to see is Scott Stevens on the ice or Ken Daneyko, and if they were, I'm like, I gotta be ready for this one.
I think you're right. The era was totally different. In all sincerity, I look back and we played with such intensity and snarl, like you mentioned, JR, and everybody. I'm not just talking Scott Stevens, myself, or whoever was on my club, but we around the National Hockey League, it just was a different mentality, I think, in looking. And I'm like you. We've talked about this, and you too, Billy. That the game today is fantastic. Look, the speed, the finesse. These guys are so skilled and such great condition, and I just love going to rink every day and watching the skill set out there. And I've adjusted my mentality because I don't enjoy the fighting as much as I used to. I know I'm getting a lot more sane than I was in my old age. When that McGrattan, I'll tell you, for example, when the McGrattan fight came out, and I'm not saying I want it done away with yet because that was an isolated incident. I'm not going to be like all the pacifists out there, but I couldn't even open it up, and I know I'm getting soft in my old age because I heard what it was like, and I said, I don't want to watch it. I still haven't opened up the fight when he was dropped.
Yeah, I talked to him the other day. And he said, "Hey, listen, it's as well as I do. You fight with the sword, you get stabbed by the sword, and that's what happens." And he says he's going to be back fighting again, and that's I guess that's how he's made his living. But go ahead. He feels good, by the way. Go ahead.
I know, and I read his comments, and everybody's going to talk for him and say we're trying to protect these guys from themselves. But you know what? He's been an old warrior for a lot of years. He's lost maybe 2 in about 160 because he's one of the toughest hombres I've ever seen. That's Brian McGrattan having to do that his whole career. But he says it is what it is, and I respect him for that as well because, he's made a living at it. He understands what he's getting into. And sometimes you have to listen to the player as well, not just everybody else trying to protect them. But having said that, I know it's cleaned itself up in the National Hockey League. It's evolution. It's just kind of naturally happened, and that's fine as well. The American League, they still have some bruisers down there, and that's part of their marketing. That's just the way it is in those smaller towns.
Yeah, I call it the Puck effect for you, Dano. Ever since Puck came into your life, buddy, I think you've got a little Puck.
I've gotten South Philly. It's got to be that, right?
Well, I see Dano. During a few years ago, all of a sudden he gets Puck. How big is Puck? 6 pounds, maybe? How big?
No, come on. He's a 25-pound Westie, brother.
Okay.
He's
Sorry.
an absolute terror. He's tough looking, but I've gotten soft. Okay, I admit it. I mean, that's all I tweet now is pictures of my 2 dogs. Now I have a Stanley as well. And
what kind of dog? It's got to be a mutt. It's got to be a mutt. It's got to be all over the place mutt. If Ken Daneyko,
Golden Doodle, brother.
Golden Doodle.
Oh my gosh! I would think that you would go to the pound and that you would rescue the ugliest, rattiest little little try mix of anything you can possibly get your hands on, and that would be a perfect comparison to my buddy Dano that runs around his house chasing the little raggedy mutt. I would love
this
it.
This is the new Dano. He's soft and cuddly, and Puck is.
This Stanley the Golden Doodle is like just a mush. He's the cutest little thing, Jerry. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're right. I probably should have the other.
So you're drafted.
Things have changed, man. My golf swing, if you don't correct it, pretty soon that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And yes,
we have JR's friends on the show that all have ugly golf swings. Come on, you got a nice one. Listen, let's go back. I want to go back to this. 1982. You're drafted in the first round, number 18 overall, by the New Jersey Devils out of the Western Hockey League. You had played for Spokane and then traded to Seattle.
Dispersal draft, Billy. Let me correct you. I played in a couple teams that folded. I was Great Falls American, Spokane for one game. Spokane Flyers at the time, and I know, and we folded. It was a disaster, and I was dispersed. I played a year and a half there, so there was a dispersal draft. And then I was picked up by Seattle, which was the Breakers at the time, as now they are the Thunderbirds, I believe, correct?
Exactly. So you go to a team that's full of, a lot of pacifists. Just, did the name like Phil Stanger mean anything to you, Alan?
Yeah.
You go to this team, and you get drafted in the first round by the New Jersey Devils. What did you know of the New Jersey Devils or of New Jersey at that time?
I was first off, the team didn't even have a name yet. They were still voting on the team name. Moved from Colorado. The organization was kind of in disarray, and I did not expect to go 18th to let alone the first round whatsoever. I wasn't ranked there. My agent didn't fly me to the draft. He didn't. They only flew first rounders there because they saved money, and if you were a surefire first rounder, you got to go to the draft. If you weren't. And by the way, it was Bill Waters, and I was on the air with him a couple of years ago and talked to him about it, and I did fire him a year later because he didn't have any faith in me. Because he didn't fly me to the draft, which was in Montreal, he didn't believe I didn't believe I was going first round. I was ranked to go. I was cautiously optimistic, maybe the early third. Had a good playoffs. I get a call early morning. My mom wakes me up. I did go out and have a few beers with my brother. You can drink in Canada when you're 18, even though, we started even earlier than that. But I was all nervous out in Edmonton, Alberta. Come home late. My mom wakes me up. Come on, take this call, Kenny. I don't know. It was about 8:40 in the morning. I go, which was 10:40 Montreal time. Draft started at 10. My mom said, take this call. I said, Mom, it's friends playing a prank. It's friends playing a prank. Never mind. I'm going to sleep. All that groggy voice. And my mom said, just take this call. My mom's passed away since then a couple of years ago, but I'll never forget it. I go down into the kitchen. My brother and sister are up. They're having coffee, and guy goes on the other line, congratulations, you've just been drafted 18th overall. I dropped the phone, threw everything. I was just, me, the emotion, JR and Billy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm that guy, and just like JR, I think that's why we're buddies, very similar. Yep. And, tears in my eyes, and I'm going, you're not going to effing believe this. I used an explicit, and I said to my family, I just been drafted 18th overall. I said, this is just, I can't believe it. And then my mom turns to me and goes, well, ask who it is. I didn't ask what team it was. I didn't give two hoots where I was going, man. I swear to God, bro. I pick up the phone. No cell phones, none of that. The phone that's stuck. I go, oh, yeah, by the way, who is this? He goes, oh, this is Marshall Johnson from New Jersey. They didn't have a team name, so he didn't say the team's name. I turned to my mom, covered the phone, I go, where the hell is New Jersey? And that's it. Honestly, I knew it was near the big city of New York, but I'd never been out that way. And it didn't matter. I would have ran the 3,000 miles to get my opportunity to play. I knew they were a bad team, didn't have a team name yet. They finally voted on the New Jersey Devils in the Star-Ledger newspaper. 32 years later, long story short, still here, fellas. Can't believe it. Pretty pumped about that.
Talk about that, Kenny, because in any generation, in any sport, to play for one team your entire career is extremely rare. And extremely rare for a tough, hard-nosed, gritty, grinding defenseman like yourself that obviously had one of the best leadership qualities. But the fact that you got to stay in New Jersey tells me all of what I need to know about Ken Daneyko and your character. But talk about what it's like. Now, you're referred to as Mr. Devil. Not Scott Stevens, not Niedermeyer, not anybody else, not Brodeur. You are Mr. Devil. That in itself is a huge compliment. But talk about your team and how it evolved. Your positioning on it. You've played on such good teams. You've won Stanley Cups. I mean, the transformation of what you've seen through New Jersey, even to where they are at this point right now, when nobody thought they would be doing as well as they are.
Boy.
Talk about being Mr. Devil.
Well, JR, I mean, at times it sounds, I want to say, I would say almost, and it's coming from me too, and listening to myself once in a while, it sounds almost corny, but in reality, and the truth is, for me first, and then until is, loyalty and integrity and all that, those great things and qualities meant the world to me. This team did give me my chance, and you hear now about players are just a piece of meat in the business, and I just feel so fortunate. I wasn't one of those guys that, the team, if I was going to come to play at 7:30, and it was 7:30 back then when we started, that they were going to trust in me, they were going to give me an opportunity to stay here, be part of something, build towards something. We were terrible early on, JR. You know that. I mean, I played my first game in '83. I had a great camp as an 18-year-old, and they actually kept me for the first 2 weeks of the season. I didn't get in a regular season game, but they just decided to send me back. I was one of those guys. You know how they talk about 18-year-olds? Oh, you're ready. You're not ready. You're not ready mentally. I was ready physically. I was ready mentally. I wanted to play now. This was my dream. I just wanted to play in the National Hockey League. The Devils had a terrible defense. I could have probably played as an 18-year-old because I felt I was, ready for that stage. Yeah, I would have made some mistakes. I would have gone through growing pains, but this development process, that part wasn't for me. I wanted to play now. I was going to develop there. So I don't make it. I was really disheartened. Come back as a 19-year-old, start to play, and I'm playing well and break my leg 12th game of the year, and then went through a lot of those fun times of up and down and frustrated, not knowing I'm going to be a regular National Hockey Leaguer, but finally make it back up, 84, 85 or whatever it is. And we were winning 17 games a year. Not a great club, not a whole lot of fans coming. We had some diehards, but we were building something, building a foundation of fans. We were building a better team. Now we're getting some good young players. Johnny McClain was there, getting there, and Kirk Muller and Pat Verbeek, and 1988, Brendan Shanahan was drafted. So that's some pretty Joe Sorella. They're pretty good hockey players, and we felt as a group, Bruce Driver, that, we could develop something here, and we all wanted to stay together. We had that tight bond. But we just didn't have a lot of direction. We were getting a little better, 85, 86. Then 88, the architect came, and Mr. Lou Lamoriello, and he just gave us some structure, some discipline. No, we didn't like it at all as much. We thought he was an absolute nut at times. You hear some of the
You thought?
Lou does.
You thought? That was all true. That is all fact. Love Lou.
And you had a little. You knew Lou a little bit, right?
Oh, I've known Lou since I was 7 years old. He used to run our hockey camps up in Providence when he was with the Providence Friars, and he used to terrorize me as a 7 and 8 year old, and still today.
And I'll bet you there was a piece of something he said or did that molded you as a player today.
100%. He's still one of my favorite. He's still one of my favorite people in all of hockey, without question. But do you think it was him more, or Lemaire that really made the biggest impact on the change of your team?
No, the first step was absolutely Lou Lamoriello. I mean, no Quintus. His first year, we hadn't made the playoffs. Came in 82, 88, comes around. It's his first year. He comes the summer 87. We make the playoffs, last game of the year, in dramatic fashion at Chicago Stadium. Mm-hmm. We went 7-0-1 near the end. He gave us a belief. He gave us, like I said, a structure, a discipline that we're going to be somebody someday. That old, type of saying. And he just molded a team. And then, when he came, when the game was played differently, everything we were talking about earlier, guys, about toughness. Lou thought we got pushed around a lot. He made us tougher. And then he started to find, had some talent now all of a sudden. Patrick Sunson we had back then, and Mark Johnson, the former Olympian, and some really good hockey players along the way. He molded it together. Now, we went one game from the Cup that year, and we were a bunch of young kids thinking, this is good, the old saying. And JR, you probably can attest to this and relate to this. You went to the Stanley Cup, one of your first years, 91 or something like that.
Yeah, 92.
Where first couple of years, you think that, oh no, we're going to be knocking on the door every year now, not realizing, oh boy, this is going to take some time. There's a process here. We go that far in '88, and we're a playoff team now, off and on. Mm-hmm. But losing in round one, losing in round two, you're understanding how tough it was. Then Jacques Lebert and Larry Robinson came, and then we lost that epic series to the Rangers, won the Cup the next year in the Eastern Finals the previous year. So it was kind of step by step. Lou was certainly the most important part of this franchise, and always will be as far as building it, as crazy as it was at times. But Lemaire, he had the vision to bring Lemaire and Robinson. What do these guys have in common? They won about 20 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, let's not forget about Larry Robinson, too.
And management. So these guys, when they came in, Lou felt we finally had the pieces. Now he needed the bench boss to make sure that we know every little step it's going to take in the grind of 4 rounds. And
I know you talked about the bench boss, but I'm going to say, and you can disagree with me, Kenny, but Lemaire made the game awful in the middle 90s with that trap. He's the one that instituted the trap. He's the one that made hockey boring. Yeah, you guys won, but God, was it a painful way to play, painful way to watch, and it led to a lot of league changes, rule changes.
Even though you're my buddy, JR, and I am going to, and Billy and me have had this conversation away from the rink many times, and I just want you to remember this. Go to the statistics, because nobody brings this up in the media. You look from 95 to 2003, where the New Jersey Devils scoring in the National Hockey League was near the top every year. Either number one in 1994, when Lemaire came, our trap era, the biggest trap era, had that epic series against the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals. We led the National Hockey League in goal scoring, ahead of the mighty New York Rangers.
Gut-wrenching playing against you guys.
So how can you say, to me, defensive hockey is your shit. With Minnesota, different story. They sat at the blue line and played. We had skill, talent, could play it any way you wanted. We scored goals. 2000, we were second in the league when we won the Cup. 2001, we lost the Cup. We were number one in the league in goals. That's all I have to say. Teams that just sit back.
So what you're saying is I'm full of shit. What you're saying is I'm full of shit. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it was blown. Look, he played a game where he cut the ice. Now I'm not going to say that. I never heard the word trap, and I'm being honest. That's the truth, Jared. People blew it out of proportion. Marty Brodeur could handle the puck so well. He was a third defenseman. We did not. To me, trap. To me, defensive game is when you line fourth and blunt. Are you watching the game today? I played the mighty Chicago. I watched our team play the mighty Chicago Blackhawks 2 months ago. We beat them back-to-back in 1 week, which was amazing. We probably caught them at the right time. I watched Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, and I'm sitting up in the booth. I'm going, I'm so tired of hearing about it just in Jersey. They could have went in on the forecheck. They knew they couldn't get in on it. I saw them in the offensive blue and circle right back and stand in the center ice. I'm going, stop saying it's just the neutral. I saw them stand in the neutral zone.
It's like
there you go.
It's a permanent tattoo.
To listen to me.
It's a permanent
and don't forget,
tattoo.
You have to have good players to play any kind of system. Every thought anybody could do it. Well, if anybody could do it, they'd be champions as well. We have a good team. That's why I take a little offense to it, and we scored a lot of goals. That's all.
You did, and that leads me to my next question. Take us back to 1991-92, and you talk about acquiring great players, right? And we won't go into the whole thing of getting Scott Stevens. What I want to know, how you got him, is I want to know is what was your first impression, or what was your first thoughts as you as a person and you as a team when you're starting to develop. You mentioned you had been, you'd been to the playoffs, but you hadn't gotten over that hump into the finals, winning the Cup yet. What did you think of Scott Stevens when he came there, and what was that like adding him to your team? Well,
first off, he wasn't very happy to be there. In fact, it took Lou a lot of convincing when we miraculously got him. We won't get into it, like you said, Billy, but, the arbitration thing and all that. Somehow Lou, this is a miracle move by Lou, maybe his greatest one of all time. St. Louis got a pretty good player in Brendan Shanahan, but they were tampering, I guess. So 2 Hall of Famers. But, he finally convinced him. He loved St. Louis. He didn't want to leave. So finally he comes to Jersey. Lou convinced him, and that was half the battle. Lou had to convince Scott Stevens, who's a very stubborn man, shall I say, very you have to convince thoroughly why am I going there and what's the reasoning and what's the game plan type thing, a very astute guy. But when he came, you need pieces, Billy. We drafted, or I don't know what order it was, but when Scott Stevens came, we all knew about him, played against him. He had a presence. You need guys that have a presence to be a championship team. And I used to love back when he was playing with Washington. Even though I was drafted the same year he was early first round. I used to want to be a poor man Scott Stevens. I wanted to emulate Scott Stevens. I wanted to be him. I knew I couldn't be him. I wasn't quite as good. But if I was a poor man Scott Stevens, that was going to be really good. So when he came, we're like, man, we got this. I didn't even know until you have him on your team how ferocious he is. And he's the quietest guy. He's like a church mouse off the ice. If he doesn't have whatever in his mouth, he won't say a thing. That old saying, But he's just a guy that we knew was another piece of the puzzle. You need a ferocious linebacker type defenseman, and that's exactly what he was. And we got Niedermayer, a smooth skating defenseman in the draft, and then the final piece. I knew we were getting there, but we were missing some pieces. Those 2 guys, best skater I've ever seen, Niedermayer, and then the great Marty Brodeur, whose number is going to be retired very shortly here. Now you knew you're formidable. Now you knew you had a chance to win.
Dan, I'll talk about all the different guys you played against and some of your wars that you've gone through. We talked about you and I, but is there 1 or 2 guys that you played against that when you were getting ready to play them, you knew that it was going to be a battle? Do you knew it was going to be a fight? You wanted to get out there and inflict some pain? Because I know you look on the roster and you're seeing who you're playing.
Oh, yeah,
you're like chomping. Are there any players that you just hated? Somebody that you couldn't wait to get on the ice, knowing that maybe either you're going to fight them or you're going to inflict some pain, or it was going to be a battle?
Well, I will tell you, Jerry, and I get asked this a lot, and I'm sure you do as well when we look back. I always say I hated a lot of guys. That was just my mentality. I didn't want to have friends in the ice, and what I found out after my career was over, that the guys I hated, the guys I fought were a lot like me. You know what I mean? Because you end up being friends and understand that they have a lot of the same traits, personalities. I was just happy. The big thing was in the 80s, when we took that bus down the turnpike to Philadelphia, you could hear a pin drop. I was a young kid, one of the young guys who was willing to stand up for the colors, but I didn't have a whole lot of help. I remember it was me and Joe Sorrell in the back end, and we had nobody up front at the time. And we used to go into Philadelphia and look at each other, and we said, let's get this over with early. Like, try to pick someone who's more of a middleweight because they had about 8 heavyweights. And that's when I'll tell you, I know we don't have that much time, but I'll tell you a funny story too, JR and Billy. I'm going to try to make it quick. So our owner, John McMullen, who was like a father to me, the late, great John McMullen, because I was one of his first picks, and he took a liking to me, and he was just a great man. So he has a meeting before the season, just the year Lou Lamoriello came. And that was 88, and Lou started to add some toughness, and he addresses the whole camp, at a team dinner, 60-something guys at camp, 70 guys back then. There were so many players that came. And he says, stands up there, he's, this older man, he goes, you know what? He goes, well, we're no longer the New Jersey Devils, where poor Ken Daneyko has to go down the turnpike and get his head kicked in every night. He goes, We've brought in the artillery. We've got some armed forces for him now. And I turned, and the part that caught me, I turned, I think, to Joe Strelly. I said, I won some of those, didn't I? But the point was that was his. He was appreciative, and I think that's the reason why the Devils were so loyal to me for such a long time. They don't forget,
Was there one guy on the ice, a situation that really got you heated? One opportunity.
You know what? I was always, like everybody, a little nervous to go into Philly. It was scary. There was Dave Brown. When he was just nasty, and I fought him early on in my career there, and I just was happy I was alive, But who I had battles with? Berube. I didn't like Berube that much, and he was a tough character, as you know, JR and Billy. But
I sucker punched him. He chased me around for 5 years trying to get at me.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I fought him a handful of times, maybe 5. And you know what? I wasn't one of those guys. I see guys and my buddy Tie Domi. I know Ty very well, and we've become pretty good friends. We did a figure skating show together in 2009.
Does he not have the hardest, biggest head on the planet?
Oh, well, I headbutted him at the China Club one night in New York. That's a story for another day. and true story, because Messier instigated it, who was my buddy, and playing in New York. And it started with arm wrestling, because Mark knew I was a big, strong guy. We used to grow up together. I know we're going all over the map here. But
this is what we want. We want to go all over the map. Keep going.
So we go. Mark looks at me. He says, "Kenny, this kid can beat you in an arm wrestle. I got $100 on it." I said, "Screw that," and it was Domi. And we hated each other. I'd already fought him once, and he was a young kid. I think he wrote a book, and put in his book he was grateful that I was one of those guys that kind of gave him the opportunity to start fighting in the league, because the Devils and the Rangers were a big rivalry. We have an arm wrestler, and he hammers me. The kid's powerful, short little arms, and I'm not very happy. Beats me with the other arm. So my brilliant idea, that was under the influence of a few shots of tequila. Later did I not know that he wasn't even drinking. And I smashed him with my head. I said, let's have a headbutting contest. Not the brightest move in my career, because as you know, Tie Domi maybe has the hardest, thickest skull of any man alive. And it was not good. I had a goose egg out. I had to play the next night, or a couple nights later. I had a goose egg in my head that just looked like a cartoon character. Him and I still laugh about it to this day. I had to send him over $100 to the dressing room in an envelope. Embarrassing next time we played the New York Rangers, because I couldn't welch on my bet. I think I don't know who got it, Mark or him, because Mark bet the $100 because I didn't pay him that night. So, but just those kinds of stories. He was another guy I couldn't stand. I only fought him a couple of times. Berube, Philadelphia, Tocchet, I had some good battles with. Rick, and I love him. Just such a character guy, great player. But all these guys, I was fortunate. I didn't have to. I look at Tie Domi's and certain players and Berube. These guys, like Tie Domi, I think fought Rob Ray 14 times. I mean, when's enough, guys? I mean, don't you get tired of fighting the same guy?
I can't stand Rob Ray. I can't stand him. He's one of the guys in the league that I can honestly say that I hate, and I don't even know him. But it goes back to personal reasons.
Well, yeah, I bet you, JR, if you sat out with him.
I heard. Everybody tells me what a great guy Rob Ray is. I just don't give a shit. I don't know.
But you know what? I like it. That's you, brother. You stick to your guns, and there's people you take to, and you don't. You don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just looking at all those guys. So those are some of the guys I fought. I didn't like them. I didn't like many guys in Philly, JR, because that was our rivalry more. So after that epic series against the Rangers, they struggled after that. It became the Flyers' all rivalry. And just all those guys were, arch nemesis. And like I said, thank God I didn't have to be a thug and fight all those guys every night. I had my fights here and there, especially early in my career, just to get some room, make a name for myself. But I wanted to develop them and kind of be a hockey player that could last a little while as well,
And we're wrapping it up here, Kenny, with you in the next few minutes. I want to ask you a question, and I'm sure you've gotten this like literally 3,000 times in your life, maybe even more, but try and ask it a different way. I was speaking with Brian Giunta the other day, another just a wonderful guy, great Devil when he played there. He talked about his Lou Lamoriello moment and about how he recognized certain things. One day he saw, after he got drafted, he was telling me that he was drafted along with Scott Gomez. Long story short, they're going out after the draft. Brian Giunta's still in his suit because he lives in the Buffalo area. Scott Gomez goes to change into jeans, and Lou Lamoriello sees him. And Lou Lamoriello says, Scott, and I don't know how he said it, but he told him that is inappropriate, and I'm just paraphrasing here. Long story short, he sent him back up to his room, put him back in his suit. He didn't care if he was going out to have a hot dog or whatever. You know what? You represent the Devils. This is his Lou Lamoriello moment. Is there one Lou Lamoriello moment? I know you spent 18 years with him, but is there one moment that you, when you were young, that said, this was my Lou Lamoriello moment?
Yeah, well, we all know I was talking about the discipline, and some of it quirky, some of it we think was insane, and I think probably exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs need. That's why I think, when the Leafs got him, Devils needed change, but the Leafs certainly needed something implemented that Lou Lamoriello can bring, and it's no coincidence you see them playing with a little more structure on the ice as well. But you know what, Billy, I don't know. He had me in the office so many times. I was a rambunctious party kid and had a good time, and he took me in there and did so often about trying to mold me into a better person, and a good player, and wanted me to be around. And he threatened to trade me a million times. And the one moment, and again, I'll try to shorten the best I can, but and you might have heard this, but not everybody has. He took me in. And just about my playing, and I wanted to do more. I thought I was capable of being. I came out of junior. I could produce some points. I played a little power play early in juniors as well, or early with the Devils. Had a little success at the time, and he put me out there even when he was there. Bruce Driver was injured. He was a power play guy. 4 games, I get 4 points. So, and then right away, Bruce comes back. No more power play time. I'm moping around. I was this crazy type of guy that was always intense and wanted to do everything. And Lou had the pulse of his players and his team all the time. He said, gets me out the bus after a Boston game. He said, Kenny, you want to talk, don't you? There's something bothering you. I said, yeah, there is. We go up to his office. He says, he knew exactly what was bothering me. He says, what's bothering me? He says, well, I played pretty well in the power play. Now all of a sudden I get no power play. He goes, yeah, that's simple. Bruce Driver's back. I go, I know, but 4 points in 4 games, and he's just matter-of-factly, and I go, I'm a little pissed, expecting more. He goes, listen to me. He says, I liken my team to an orchestra, Kenny. There's drummers, there's violinists, there's pianists. What category do you think you fall into there? And, I knew where he was going. He says, if we're going to make beautiful music, every one of my guys has to play that instrument to a T. Where do you think you fall in that category? And I'm pissed. I go, I'm smart enough to know where he's going. I'm a drummer, and I didn't want to be a drummer. I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to be a drummer and a violinist and a little bit of piano as well. And
that's fantastic.
That job, Frost, and I'm going, but. I'm in my mid-20s. He goes, listen, Kenny, if you want to be a violinist, I'll call 20 other teams, see if they need a violinist. This is God's honest truth, fellas. And see if they need a violinist, and we'll move you there if that's what you want. But now I'm really pissed at him because he's trying to pacify me and almost getting, funny about it. So I get up. He goes, but I guarantee you, kid, and this was the defining moment part, Billy, what you're talking about, and true. He goes, if you play that drum as good as anybody, he says, that I know you can, and that's playing tough, protecting teammates, playing good defense, killing penalties. He says, you're going to play in this league for 15 years, and you're going to help this team win a Stanley Cup. So he says exact words. I get up, still a little angry, ready to slam the door, and that's when I was ready to slam the door, that's when he said the 15 years. Then I slammed the door. I'm angry, still uptight. But thank God, guys, I was smart enough, and this is lesser young guys, to understand, to listen to him and understand that, you know what, he made me right here. Because if I tried to do too much, how many times, JR, have we seen in Billy, guys that fall by the wayside, great players in 5 years, 3 years, they're out of the league because they don't define themselves. They do one, we talk about teams defining themselves. They do one thing well, pretty well, a lot of things pretty well, nothing real good. You know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of players fall by the wayside. Well, that day I took it to heart. I was angry. And sure enough, Lou and me laughed about it after when we retired my number in 2006, and he joked about it. He says, I go, Lou, just to be stubborn, because I am. I said, I outlasted you. I lasted 20 years, not 15. If you remember that.
I love it. I love it.
But it's true, guys, and that was the defining moment, Billy. I know it was a long story again. I have a tendency to do that. But it was so true. I took that to heart that day, and I think that conversation was probably the most instrumental in my career because I listened. I said, I got to make sure this is what I do, establish myself find a role, and that's why I played 20 years in one team. That's why Lou Lamoriello respected me, put up with all the idiosyncrasies and all the nuttiness off the ice, and there was a lot of it, and I'm going to write a book one day, hopefully, guys, and tell about it. But he still put up with me because I had wanted to win. Wanted to win, had the right attitude, and all those kinds of good things, and I'm grateful for it.
I'm the one guy who thinks you should write a book. We've talked about this already. We're gonna hook you up with my publicist and with my boy Kevin Allen to help you, hopefully help you do that. But you talk about that defining moment. You've had a couple in your life, Kenny, and one of the proudest things that I can say is for me and your friend is being your friend, but also knowing where you are now to where you've been in your lifetime, because you've had defining moments. You've had defining moments, and where you are right now is it's pretty special. It is special, but it wasn't easy for you to get there. So talk about maybe a defining moment in your life away from hockey that has really been crazy.
I was a partier. I drank a whole lot. JR,
I'm right, buddy. I'm right with you. I've had my defining moments too. Hey, listen, gambling, drinking, you name it. It's me.
And I had all the isms, most of them, my friend, and there's a lot of people know it. I don't talk a whole lot about it, but I've just discussed with you two guys, me and my buddies, and Billy and me have had many chats, many nights when we did the hockey show in New York together, and I think I was coming toward the tail end of my drinking days, but still couldn't get off that fence, and so many people do. And, I won't ramble too much, and this will be for the future, but I just, I couldn't, damned if I do, damned if I don't. My life was, I don't know which way it was going, and I was still functioning, those functioning alcoholics, drunks, call them what you want. It was, I was a fun guy. I didn't drink every day. I didn't know where I was going with all this, but I was an atmosphere guy. I liked the nightlife. I liked the lifestyle, and I was playing Russian roulette for years. I went public. I mean, I was 97. Obviously, I'm a stubborn guy, but I obviously had a problem when in 1997 I walked away from a game, and I was actually the first guy, which you guys probably don't realize this. I was really before anybody that actually went public with the NHL and NHLPA behavioral when they just started that program of, not that I agreed with how they handled everything, but I was playing great hockey in 97, had to walk away from the game and go to rehab and all those kinds of things, and missed 45 games. And so the seed was planted, but anybody they just think when you go away, you're okay. You're going to have a complete success right now. You don't drink anymore. And little do they know, very rarely have I seen a guy be successful. I had the right intentions. I wanted to change some things. I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't believe something could grab a hold of me like that, fellas, and drinking could take over. But sure enough, I stayed sober for a while, and back and forth. The old, as you hear from so many guys, I couldn't kindly really put the bottle down completely because I didn't know if I wanted to. And until I had a defining moment about almost 5 years ago. 5 years ago, now, guys and Billy, I think that was when we were just starting to get our show together and talk. And I know a lot of people around me, and I kept it to myself. Like, I'd go out, I didn't bring people down into it and everything. That's why it was kind of more quiet. And this is the first time I've really talked a little bit about it where, I had a moment of clarity. And let's just say, I don't want to go into detail because that's something, it's hard. I had a scare. It was going to get me in trouble, and I'm going to save it for my book, JR. But
I'm going to be the first in line to buy your book, my buddy.
But that moment of clarity when somebody says, I go, that scared me enough to say, I got to change. I come home, my current wife now, Margaret, who was not my wife at the time, knew some things had to change here. She kept me in line a little better than I used to be, but it was still off and on, and all of a sudden, I come home next morning, I tell her I'm done. That's it. She goes, yeah. I've heard that 7,000 times. She says, Kenny, you're going to either kill yourself, kill somebody else, or if you don't change. And,
Margaret's a wonderful woman. Yeah, you're very lucky to have her.
Did you tolerate your cigars?
That's your vice now. That's your vice. The cigar.
That's my vice. I can't quit them all. I enjoy cigars. Anybody cigar connoisseur you can send to me. But you know what, guys, in all sincerity, it means a lot to me, and I don't talk about it. And this is the first because of my friends. I talk to them on the show, and we'll get them more aware. I'm one of the lucky ones, since that day. And when I said that, and I don't know how it happened after saying that 1,000 times in the last, banging my head against the wall for 15 years trying to get it right. And if we can touch one person along the way here, and I had letters, guys. That's what was eating away at me. I had people that knew when I went public as a player, going, "You're inspirational. You helped my son see that even guys in the limelight are vulnerable. Even they have problems. And now my son's trying to get help. He's got a problem." Those things hit home, yet I still couldn't stop completely. And then grateful that one day that what happened. Blessing in disguise, I thought it was going to ruin everything. And I'll tell it later, but I thought it was going to ruin my career. I thought I had nothing left in my life, and that was the defining moment, because I always say the big fella upstairs was watching me, and I swear it hit me like a lightning bolt. He goes, "You've got 2 strikes against your kid." I swear I felt it. He says, "The third one, you're out, but I'm going to give you one more chance. This isn't going to get public. This isn't going to get out." Sure enough, nothing happened. But I stayed true to my word, and that obsession left me day at a time, man. So it's been almost 5 years. And
it's awesome.
That's it in a nutshell, but I'll get deeper
awesome.
into it one day. But I'm glad you asked me, JR. Sometimes it's nice for me to remind myself and remember why and what, because it can turn on a dime. I've seen many people where you forget where you were at one time in your life, and I'm so grateful that I was one of the lucky ones that to be able to stop, because it's not, a lot of times it's not the other person, it's not the person's fault, because you say, "Why doesn't he just stop? What an idiot."
You're not the only one that's grateful. You're not the only one that's
exactly.
grateful. We're grateful too, because
Kenny,
my friendship with you goes beyond what anything you can possibly imagine, especially after all the battles we had. So I love you, Kenny, so much.
A real gentleman.
You guys are the best, man.
A real gentleman, and for everything you've done for the game, and just in general for me as well. I mean, you accepted me wholeheartedly when we met probably now 7, 8, 9 years ago in New York, maybe even 10 years ago. Jeez, time flies, right? When,
so you saw some, Billy, from a side, you saw some of that craziness, but I kind of kept it under wraps a little around you, didn't I? I was trying to be on my best behavior.
I saw a little bit, but I've seen you binge eat before with me, by the way. I've seen that. One of the reasons I truly love Kenny Daneyko is his ability to put the feed bag on. We sit down and we mange it. We go, and we always find room for dessert, too. That's the good news. We just go that way, and it's outstanding. So, Kenny, this has been awesome. I could talk. We could go on for another 30, 40. I could go on for another hour easily with you and everything. This is what it's all about, Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe. We get a chance to go and to cover a lot of different topics. We could go, like I said, we could do this again, and we will do it again. So we appreciate you taking the time, bud, and continue success.
Oh, Trey, man. I can't believe you didn't even ask me about my current Devils. How about my current Devils?
I did. I said the way they're playing right now, I said, looks like they're just, I can't believe how close they are and how well they're playing this year. Nobody gave them any chance to be good.
That's all I talk about. You're right. That's all the generic stuff we talk about, because that's our jobs and that's what we do. And we love it, and I love the game, everything going on. I'm getting ready to go to morning skate here in Pittsburgh, and what better life do we have? I mean, you got to pitch myself to wake up that I get to go for a job, get to go watch hockey games, talk to the guys, and watch this great game and these kids develop. But that's what's great about your podcast. We went in a whole different direction about life.
And you know what, Daniel, let's end it with this. Let's end it real quick. Ready? Let's do this real quick. Since you're Mr. Devil, you've been there for how many, Jersey, over 30 years now. Real quick.
32 years.
We'll put this on as an aside. This will be its own little segment. Lou, our phenomenal producer, Lou, you know him well. We'll cut it up, okay? This is called Know Your Jersey, all right? You ready for this? You're going to have a little fun.
Ready.
Best Springsteen song is what?
Born in the USA.
All right. James Gandolfini represented a mob character. Was James Gandolfini born in New Jersey? True or false?
True.
Excellent. Park Ridge. All right. What famous soup
went to Rutgers.
There you go. All right. You see, you're like who says you don't have a college degree? You are a college degree in New Jersey right now.
Hey, you don't think in my circle of craziness that I didn't cross paths with James Gandolfini? Come on. I cross paths with everybody. I'm like JR, Billy, don't forget. JR's not the only guy that had fun and rubbed elbows with all these celebrities. I did a little bit of that too in my area.
What famous running back, now retired, is from New Jersey? He's a long time ago running back. I'm going to give it away if I say the team, so I'll wait on it. But what famous running back's from the New Jersey area?
Well, I want to say the guy that got in trouble, but I'm not sure. Ray Rice, but...
Well, you could be right. It's probably a bad question. Franco Harris, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, Franco Harris. Yes. Something. Because Ray Rice went to Rutgers as well, but I don't know if he was. I think he might have been from the area too. Not sure on that one. But
all right. Well, here's another one. Here's two quick ones for you. Famous soup company is located in Camden, New Jersey. That's where it got its beginning. Do you know which one it is?
Campbell's?
There you go. Campbell's Soup is in Camden, New Jersey. What are hot dogs called? What's the most famous style of hot dog in New Jersey called?
Jeez.
This one I wasn't sure about. I looked it up.
I'm ballpark.
Rippers. They call them rippers. They put them in the fryer and they fry them up
How
there.
wouldn't I know that? Because there's famous places like one in Hoboken that you can get the best Italian hot dog.
Listen, I thought Max Weinberg was the most famous drummer born in New Jersey, but Lou Lamoriello made it clear.
Celebrated a cup with him, Billy, in '95 and 2000.
Yeah, but you're a better drummer. You're a better drummer.
There you go. No pun intended. Yeah, he might have really been literally playing them, but I became a drummer on the ice for the Devils. I'm damn proud of it.
There you go. Well, go beat to your own drum, which is why we love you, Kenny Daneyko. That's why you're the best. Thanks for joining us here, and we will definitely have you on again, buddy.
A real pleasure, guys. I had a lot of fun. I didn't know where it was going, but you guys are right. You're really getting on the inside of us guys. I think that's great stuff. I really do. I didn't know where we were going today. I apologize if I was all over the map because I get fired up to talk to you too. But
you're with me, buddy. Stuff. You're with me. You know you're going to be all over the map when you're with me. I love it. I love it. I love you.
All right, guys. Have a great day, and thanks a lot for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Kenny.
All right, well, what an interview. What a chat with Kenny Daneyko. The best.
I could listen to him for days and days and days.
Jeremy,
awesome.
I know you went golfing with him over the summer. I know you did that.
We went to Ireland together, and
just the best.
Amazing how you can pound at each other's heads and say such outlandish, dirty, rotten things to somebody on the ice and hate somebody so much playing against them, and then become such good friends as Kenny and I have become. And God, I just love that
Speaking
guy.
of pounding, he was amazed at how much you guys pounded back the beverages in Ireland, and he's like, I don't know how they did it. I was exhausted and I don't drink anymore.
He you know what? He sticks to his
He's
guns.
awesome.
He's
awesome.
Like when we did 20 or 30 Guinness bombs a night, he did 20 or 30 stogies a night. So he kept to his.
He's the best. And in the years I spent with him in New York City as part of the MSG network, or something I'll never forget, with how much hockey we talked, how much personal stuff we talked to. One of the most gracious, wonderful, humble people, yet understands how good he was. And there's this, you know what I mean? There's this wonderful thing. So anyways, he touched on one thing that we've been saying we're going to get to, and we're going to quickly here. We could probably do our own show on this. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Steven Stamkos situation. We'll touch quickly on Jonathan Drouin at the end. Stamkos reportedly offered an 8-year, $68 million contract initially. That is a supposed initial offer by the Tampa Bay Lightning, as he is set to become an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. The question is, if this 868 deal is true and it's, accurate, is that Kenny mentioned, is that a slap in the face to Steven Stamkos, given that the Taves, the Canes are making 10.5, the Kopitar is going to make 10, and Steven Stamkos do that same amount of money?
You know what? This is just crazy. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but yeah, that is a slap in the face. That is a low ball offer.
Do you think it's a starting point? I mean, again, we're playing a hypothetical.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Yzerman's a smart guy. There's no question about it. But one thing you don't want to do is turn off your top player. Is make him feel like he's not as important as being a top guy as some of the other top guys. Mm-hmm. You don't want to do that to your top player. And I think with that contract offer, I think Steve Yzerman is, or at least Steven Stamkos is probably sitting there saying, what do you don't think I'm as valuable as a Kopitar? You don't think I'm as valuable as an Ovechkin? You don't think I'm as valuable as a Taves? That's what I would think the message is coming to me. And you don't want to do that to Steven Stamkos. How many 50-goal scorers in the last 4 years? Ovechkin, you have Corey Perry, and Steven Stamkos. And am I missing anybody else that has gotten 50? I don't think so. So that's a very rare class. It's a rare class. And if Steven Stamkos goes to the open market, he's getting over 10. He's getting over 10 because of the goal scoring ability, because of his drive, because of his stature. And he's still real young, Billy. He's young.
Does the tax thing come into play at all? Let's just get it up. Does it come in? Should it come into play? Does it come into play at all? But don't you think? Look, you had an agent. You still do. You deal with Neil Abbott. You've had. Does it come into play? Should it come into play? The tax ramifications, meaning there's no state tax in Florida. I believe also Tennessee doesn't have it. But overall, otherwise, you have those implications in other states.
It's a good negotiating tool for Tampa. But still, when he's looking down the roster and he's looking down the sheet on who makes what, as a superstar and the ego and all that stuff, you're still looking, saying, wow, Kopitar is going to be making $14 million next year.
Well, but that's a bonus. It's $10 million. It's $10 million.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as a player, when you're a superstar, you're still looking at the number and saying, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Right, so as a player. So, yeah, the ego does, in your mind, in yourself, in your own, when you're by yourself, it does sit on you. It's happened to me. I've been one of those guys. I'm like, God, how is this guy making that kind of money? And I'm not. It does.
Okay.
And was
that one of the issues that you had, buddy? Going back to your issue with the Chicago Blackhawks.
When I got traded from Chicago Blackhawks in '96, I wanted $4 million a year. Bob Pulford told me that my agent, that I would not make $4 million with the Chicago Blackhawks. And he said, I will never make $4 million on any other team.
What did they offer you there? What did they ever make you an offer?
Yeah, it was just around 3, just under 3, right around in there.
Okay.
And by the way, I had Eric Lindros, who came in 1993 and got $3 million right away, $3.5 million right away. He didn't even play a game. And he's getting a couple $1 million, whatever his contract was, but he hadn't even played a game yet. And granted, yes, he was the icon draft pick,
right?
But still, I had just finished scoring 2 50-goal seasons, 100-point seasons, and Eric Lindros is going to make more than me. Not a chance. So when I asked that, all I wanted was $4 million from Chicago. That's it. I wanted $4 million, and I would have been happy. The fact that Bob Pulford said I'll never make $4 million with any team really pissed me off something fierce. And by the way, I made $4 million every year for 5 years with Phoenix, so I did get it. And then I ended up making 8 or 9 in a couple of my seasons in Philly. So he was wrong, I was right, because we knew of where the salaries were going. But what really kind of irked me after. They didn't offer me $4 million a year in '96, but yet they paid Doug Gilmour almost $5.5.
Oh yeah, no, it was 18. It was, dude. I think it was 18 over 3. Basically.
$6 million.
Yeah,
they paid him $6 million, and Doug Gilmour hasn't even come close to scoring 50, I don't think, or whatever the case may be. But they paid him $6, and they wouldn't pay me $4. That really kind of burned me a little bit, but I've since forgiven them, and hopefully they've forgiven me. My relationship with the Hawks is fantastic, and they are the cream of the crop of the league.
Let's just wrap this up on Stamkos, and we'll touch on Drew. But here's a few names. I'm going to give you their names and their amount, and then we'll wrap up this conversation just for some context. We're talking $8.5 million a year, basically. 8 years, $68 million. Again, the reported initial offer, and as Steven Stamkos even said, some of it's true and some of it isn't true. So, it sounds like that Sportsnet and Elliot Friedman, who does just a magnificent job, and not because I work with him, but he's a top shelf person too. He gets a lot of good info. Here's some names and numbers. Kane and Taves at 10.5. Alex Ovechkin, this is their average annual value, their AAV, okay? Ovechkin, 9.5 and change. Evgeny Malkin, 9.5 even. PK Subban is at $9 million AAV. Crosby, 8.7. Corey Perry, 8.625. Henrik Lundqvist, 8.5. Claude Giroux, 8.275. So those are the numbers and the names, and Stahl and Getzlaffer at 8.25. And then the last one at 8 average is Phil Kessel. Where does Stamkos fit at that upper top tier?
Stamkos blows away Kessel.
Okay.
I think
Getzlaf, Giroux. What about Giroux?
I think he deserves more money than Giroux.
Even though
I think Giroux is one of the true grittiest players in the game and talented players in the game. I think Stamkos has had better years and scored 50 and has had more impact on his team.
8.625. Is he?
He's very comparable to Corey Perry. And Corey Perry's been one of those 50 goal scorers, but still Steven Stamkos has scored 60. So I think he deserves more than Corey Perry.
Evgeny Malkin, Alex Ovechkin. Again, Malkin 9.5 cap or AAV, and Ovechkin is at 9.5. Now he signed the deal a while ago. We're not comparing apples to apples.
Again, you got to look at the scoring. Evgeny Malkin's never scored 50, and he probably I doubt that he would. So I think
he's a damn good year this year, though.
He's playing great. No, I'm not saying that. He's playing great, no question. But again, there's not many super snipers like Steven Stamkos in the game, and he's got to get paid like it.
Well, wait, no. To end it on this, then, valid point, all that, fine. But if you're going to use that, you're going to say, well, Ovechkin then, because Ovechkin has scored 50. He has done that. So he's at 9.538, which is his cap or AAV hit. But he's done it more than Stamkos does.
Has Alex Ovechkin gotten close to free agency or been able to hit free agency?
No, I know it's different time.
So that becomes the big sales pitch right there. Mm-hmm. Steven Stamkos he's able to go. Hey, you can't tell me that the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't going to make him a huge offer to come up and play in Toronto, and he knows that. So he's banking on that in his back pocket and waiting to see what happens.
That team is nowhere near ready to win. I'm sorry, it's nowhere near ready.
Where do you start? When you get ready to win, you get a superstar and you build around the superstar.
I know. But remember this, Jay. He can only get a 7-year deal. Now, they can offer him, 10 and a half or whatever it is a year, but he can only get a 7-year deal because the home team is allowed that 8-year, that extra year. It's just going to be interesting how this thing plays out.
You can't tell me the Kopitar deal doesn't help Steven Stamkos because it helps him a lot.
Well, it should. It should, but again, it's all in theory. And the question is does he have to make the same amount as Anze Kopitar? Does he have to make 10? That's going to play out. And the question becomes, and we don't know, but come February 29, he has a no trade or no movement in his contract now. So in theory, there's no reason for him to go anywhere, right?
No. He could just sit there. Listen, he has more things to worry about right now and getting Tampa into the playoffs because right now they're right on the brink.
Okay, Tampa then could be completely screwed, or they could be absolutely screwed if they lose Steven Stamkos and if they don't get anything for Jonathan Drouin, who continues to sit at home, not playing in the minors.
This kid's ruining his career.
So Drouin is ruining it.
He's ruining his reputation. He's ruining his career. And granted,
does he have any right to do this, Jeremy? Does he have any right? None. Okay. In your
Zero.
opinion.
The only right that he's given himself is that he was the number 3 pick in the draft. He has done nothing. And by the way, he was a number 3 draft a lot because he played with Nathan McKinnon in Halifax. Okay, so granted, you play with a great player and like Nathan McKinnon, who's been a successful player, who did win the Rookie of the Year, has shown that he can play in the National Hockey League at a high level. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Drouin has not. Okay, and for him to be doing this and claiming that he's a big time player when he is given absolutely zero big time performances is killing him. And he's going on reputation from juniors alone. Because since he's been in the league, he has been an average player. He has shown that he doesn't have the grit and grind to compete every single night. That he might not have the backbone to play at the physical, hard, dig-em level that you need to be a star in the league. And Tampa is tired of it. And now he's going around with a rap on him being a complainer. and wanting to leave and being maybe a prima donna.
Well, let me ask you this. 32 points last year in 70 games. Not bad. I mean, 70 games, limited ice time, 4 goals, 28 assists. I agree with you, bud. He hasn't completely shown himself. He's still an unknown as far as I'm concerned.
4 goals? I could play with Steven Stamkos and Kucherov and Johnson.
He's a disher.
And all those guys.
This is what cautions a lot of people, bud, is that he is a disher that is a wing. And, you always it's too much of a stereotype or generalization, bud, but usually your centermen are the ones, for the most part, that are big assist guys.
You know what?
He's always been a big assist guy, though. Huge assist guy.
You know what, though? Sometimes you just have to pay your dues, and he hasn't paid his dues. And the fact that he's not playing because he's afraid of getting hurt, I think that's exactly one of the reasons why Tampa kind of lost faith in him, because he played like he didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah, no question about it. And
he even did that up in the bigs. So now he's not playing in the minors because he's afraid he's going to get hurt, and it's going to ruin a trade position for Tampa.
This is interesting to me, bud.
I don't like it.
No, nobody likes it. I like
Jonathan Drouin, by the way. I think he's a very good talent, and he has the potential of being a very good talent, but not doing it this way. It's time to grow some nuts and balls and step in there and show everybody that what you can do, not what you can say and what you potentially can do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, this to me is incredibly scary. I talked to 3 teams the day after this happened, and they, to a person, and I thought 2 of them would be in on the deal for him, or a deal, I mean, and 2 of the 3 were like, this is turning us off in a sense, because if he's doing this now, what's he going to do in a couple of years? And you had an opportunity last week in Toronto, where the Marlies play, where his team Syracuse was supposed to play, where 30 teams, including Tampa, were represented there. So 29 other teams were going to be there to watch him play. Literally to watch. This is you want to talk about a resume galore. This was going to be it. Here's another game for you to show your wares in Toronto to all 29 other teams. And he goes home. He doesn't play. And so, listen.
Huge red flag.
Huge red. And here's the thing. Listen. Now, this I emphasize is just what I've been told by, I like to say, as people in the know for this. I thought, how could his agent allow this to happen? How do you allow it to? And then I'm told that it has a lot to do with the player making the decision, and that this is what he wanted. And the agents got to do what they got to do. Look, being an agent is tough. It is tough, and people say all the time, it's a crazy business, it's a slimy this. You know what? Representing somebody and doing, what they want, finding that fine line, what they want and what they should do, are probably very difficult. I've never been an agent, so I can't speak to it. We should have a few agents on to talk one day about this. But long story short, when I hear that it's the player that was pushing for it, if that is true, capital I, capital FJ, if that's true, if it was the player, and I thought it was perhaps an agent at first that wanted it. If it was the player, that sends an even bigger red flag to me. A bigger red flag. Because if the agent's trying to tell the kid, don't do it, that's not good.
Well,
that's not good at all.
One thing that Tampa does not need right now is they don't need these dark clouds hanging over their team. Because I just said how close they are to missing the playoffs right now. They hold that first wild card spot, but it's getting close. It's getting tight. There's Pittsburgh's there, 1 point behind them. Montreal's a couple points behind them. Ottawa, Carolina. I mean, they have some work to do. And Steve Yzerman has some issues that he needs to get out of the way, because he doesn't want all these things in the media. He wants his team doing the right thing. They're rolling along. We'll see how they bounce back after getting thumped by Florida, but this team has more important things to do than worry about Jonathan Drouin. I do think they need to worry a little bit about Steven Stamkos, but hopefully that resolves itself. But boy, from Stanley Cup Finals to just hanging on by a thread, it's a big change for Tampa right now.
Well, what a fun show we had! Just amazing stuff, and we listen. Can't thank Ken Daneyko enough for joining us, touching on everything. Jeremy, we had other stuff that we wanted to get to too, but people are going to be saying, okay, this is enough. This is too long. We got to go. So, Lou, hey, keep it all together. What a fun day. Jeremy, I know that you got a busy week heading up to All-Star break. I've got a few more things before the All-Star as well, and then we'll be back After that, we'll talk a lot of All-Star Weekend. We'll talk a lot of other things going on. The NHL doesn't stop moving, so we got to keep talking about it, buddy.
Yeah, we will. Well, hey, All-Star, can't wait. I can't wait. 3-on-3. It's going to be great. Can't wait to watch John Scott rally and score goals and fly up and down the ice. It's going to be phenomenal.
I can't wait to see. Listen, when you do your interview with John Scott, we're going to be rolling up, but I want you to take your phone and I want you to hit the record button on it too. I want to hear what it sounds like when somebody hits that jaw of yours.
When somebody hits the floor, you mean?
It's the floor. Because it just might happen.
Yeah,
what happened to JR?
Listen, I'll tell you what. I'm going to pull no punches. I'm going to ask him to say exactly what I've been saying. So I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back down.
Can't wait, buddy. Great fun stuff today. Roenick Life Pod with JR and Jaffe, powered by Digital Media.
This has been a Digital Media production. Find your voice.